Hello, YouTube friends. I'm broadcasting from a secret location to talk to you about my latest book that I've read and review it for you. It's The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This is a book that was recommended to me by a family member, and I read it over the course of a few days over the Christmas holidays. It's a modern mystery, and it's a very tightly plotted, intricate puzzle of a book. It basically concerns, it's sort of a Groundhog Day-like plot. It concerns an individual who wakes up in this kind of 19th century, turn of the century mansion with the information that a woman named Evelyn Hardcastle is going to be murdered, and it's his job to solve the murder. Each day he will wake up occupying a different host with his mind in the body of a different guest in the castle, and he has to use these 7 days, or 8 days rather, to decipher the mystery, even though he doesn't really know who he is or what's going on or what the deal with all his different hosts are. So it's a very intricately plotted work. I can't imagine how much work must have gone into writing it. The author did a lot of effort into trying to put all the key pieces together and make it coherent and eliminate plot holes, and I think that's really admirable, and I really appreciate the amount of effort that went into it. It's sort of, if you like puzzles, if you like to kind of try to solve mysteries, you'll probably enjoy this sort of thing. I'm not a huge fan of modern mysteries myself. I always find the writing a little bit poor. I tend to like classics and older books better, but I enjoyed this. I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting to witness the conceit of the same day being lived over and over again through different points of view. It's sort of a trope that's used fairly frequently these days, but this is a little bit of a new spin on it because it's not the same person doing it every day. So that's always entertaining. It's got a little bit of a time travel element to it, which, it always raises these kind of paradox questions about time travel, so you have to deal with that. Lots of questions remain unanswered at the end, which I know some people were upset about. It didn't really bother me. I thought the novel reached a satisfactory enough conclusion. It's also got a little bit of the element of like the game Clue in it. You have the 8 different hosts who the narrator occupies, and they all have their own roles to play. There's a doctor, and there's sort of a lech, and there's an old nobleman who's fat, and there's a lot of different personality types, and you sort of have the like, who did the murder with which weapon in which room sort of feel from Clue. You have a cast of characters listed at the beginning, a map listed at the beginning to help you kind of piece together what's going on. It can be quite confusing. The plot, I think, if you're not used to this sort of writing, you might find yourself thrown for a loop because it does jump back and forth in time a lot. It jumps back and forth through different personalities a lot. But you're given ample roadmaps, I think, in order to try to navigate that and try to piece together what's going on. It's the sort of thing that won't really make a lot of sense until you finish it. So you sort of have to suspend your disbelief a little bit until you get to the end and all the pieces fall into place. And I thought the author did a good job of making sure that all the pieces did fall into place and came to a satisfying conclusion instead of being a mess of plot holes and a lot of questions for the reader to say, well, why didn't you do this later on? I thought it worked pretty well. It's always a challenge when writing this kind of book to keep the plot held together without a lot of just mistakes or gaps in reasoning where the reader can fill in and say, well, I thought of something that the author didn't, and I thought of a better way to do it. I don't think that's the case here. I think it's a challenge in writing mysteries to do that sort of thing, and I think the author, Stuart Turton, did a good job on that. This is Stuart Turton's first debut novel, apparently, and I think he's got another one out now, so I may have to check that one out in the future. But, overall, good book. I enjoyed it. I guess if I have a complaint about the novel, apart from just the general quality of the writing, which was fine but nothing outstanding, it felt a little bit like one of those things where the author just takes a series of tropes that they like and throws them at the wall without much regard for the relevance to the plot. So there's a lot of things that I like in here, a lot of things that appeal to my personal style and sensibility, but I felt like they were just thrown in because rule of cool. They're just interesting, cool things. So you get those old-timey things like laudanum or plague doctor masks and things like that are, while admittedly cool, I felt like they were just kind of arbitrarily thrown in there because they're the sort of thing the author likes. It reminded me a little bit of the Starless Sea, which was the Erin Morgenstern book that followed the Night Circus, where she just took a bunch of things that she liked, like bees and keys and mysterious things, and threw them all together, and without much regard for how they actually related to the plot. And I don't think that's necessarily the best way to write a book. So I didn't love it in that regard, but if you are a fan of modern mysteries, if you like very intricate puzzles to try to solve, if you like slightly supernatural, mysterious Groundhog Day-like scenarios, then this book may well be for you. The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Check it out. You might enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. I've been your host, Logan Albright, and I'll catch you next time.